What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how I went from having a regular job to opening up and owning $1 million business. Now, I'm going to get right to it on my story. Now, remember, this is my story. I'm not saying you're going to have the same results, but I want to quickly share part of the story of how I kind of got started with my first official business. And by official, I mean I registered the business. I had a brick and mortar location. I had a mobile unit. The business that I had was a mobile detailing company. The way it all started is I was detailing cars. Well, actually, let's take it back. I started working at Wendys. So right out of high school, actually, when I was still in high school, I got a job at Wendys. I was making, I think at the time, like $7.50 an hour. Then after working like 6 months, I got a raise till $8.15 an hour. And then after that, I remember one day my dad called me in to his room or to the living room, and he always knew I liked business, and I was doing other side hustles then. Basically, he told me that one of his friends was making money going to other people's houses and washing their cars. And I'm like, I never heard of that. Now, meanwhile, I'm sure you probably heard about mobile detailing, and it's a lot more common now. But back in the days, this is 2011, 2012, there was not a lot of companies that did that serviced cars, on location. So anyway, I thought it was pretty interesting. So I got a couple tools. I got some vacuums. I got a couple machines, products. And as I was still at Wendy's, I started detailing people's cars. I was detailing my friends' cars. I would think I was charging like $30, $40 per car to detail. Now, again, that's not common. You would be charging $200, $250, $300 for a detail. I was charging $30, $40, $50. I was posting on Craigslist. So at the time, I had my job at Wendy's, and I was doing this on the side. So I was working about 40 hours at Wendy's, sometimes 45 hours a week, and then I was after hours or before I would go into to Wendy's, I would be detailing people's cars. It got to a point where I was getting a lot of customers. I don't want to make this story so long, but it got to a point where I was getting so many customers that I'm like, I was doing the math, and I'm like, I'm making like $250, like $300 a week at Wendy's around there, and I'm making now around $300, $400 a week detailing, but it's on my own time, I'm my own boss. So I decided that if I could get it to like a little bit more, like $500 a week, I would quit my job, which eventually I did. And then after a short period of quitting my job, I actually found a place that I can rent. And I thought, even though I'm going to people's homes, I can also have a location where people can come to me, park my van, store my products, etc. And at the time, it wasn't really expensive. I think I got the place for $1,000 a month. It was a 2-bed garage, and I got it. I made the decision. I signed the lease, and so at this point, I had my van, I had the truck. I had the van, I had the location. Now, this is not a success story that my shop blew up and I was making $1 million a year straight off the bat. It wasn't like that. If you were expecting that, it's not like that. It's never really like that. Especially back in the days, I didn't have really like, the ads. It was a lot of just word of mouth. So it took a while. Actually, it took about 2 years for me to get really busy to the point where I was making a significant amount of money, which in this case, by the time that I ran that place, the name was iDetail, I ran it for 5 years. And year one, I believe, I don't have the exact numbers because I was also not great at keeping numbers. A lot of it was cash. I wasn't, the best at, keeping accounting. But the first year was about like $50,000 for a business that's really low. And I had one full-time employee, one part-time employee plus rent. I was making no money, probably lost money that year. Second year, I made about like 75 to 100. Third year, something happened where kind of did blow up. I remember the second year, we ended up making, after the second year, I'm sorry, so the third year, but it was right at the second year mark. It just kind of like the beginning of the third year, it just kind of blew up. And the third year, I believe we made somewhere around 300 and something $1,000. Then the fourth year, I remember it was almost a little bit over 400,000. And then it was about the same the fifth year. And so, yeah, it took 5 years for me to get there. But it was a big transition, especially those two first years, going from a job like Wendy's and, to transition to a business that I was taking care of everything. It was tough. It was not easy. But the way I did that is by literally just every single day showing up. I mean, the success is what people see, but what people don't see is that there was days that I was working there from 7 in the morning till 3 o'clock in the morning, then back the next day, 7 in the morning. I didn't take a day off. I was working Monday through Sunday. I stopped even going to church for a while. There was a lot of things that I was sacrificing. I wasn't playing soccer anymore. There was a lot of things I wasn't doing anymore to make that work. But after the second year, and trust me, I mean, 2 years, now talking about it seems so short, but 2 years back then, it was tough. It was tough to really just wake up every day and go to work without that much income, as like a reward for putting all that work in. So it does sound like a little bit but when you're in there grinding every day, it's a lot. So it was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of long days. But after the 2 years, it did blow up. I was able to get, to move out of my parents' house. I was able to get multiple cars. I was able to kind of live slightly of a different lifestyle. But it was all thanks to that hard work that I put in for those 2 years, not giving up for those 2 years. And not even being, and at that point, I was still about 22 years old, 21 years old. So I was still young. I didn't know about, a lot of things that I know now. But I would say the biggest thing that helped out was just showing up every day, those long days, long hours, and just kind of like that delayed gratification. I didn't get the cars right away. I wasn't really, in the beginning of the business, I was just buying and selling cars, actually. Like, since I had a shop, I would buy cars, fix them up, sell them. I wasn't really driving them myself. I just had like a $5,000 car that I would, drive. I bought cash. I'll drive. Even though by like year 2, I could afford something nicer, I wasn't just going out there and buying crazy stuff. By year 3, 4, yes, I started buying nicer things, nicer cars. Like I said, I moved out of my parents' house. But it was definitely hard work, dedication. So that's pretty much the story of my first business, how I went from day job to $1 million business. And the reason why I say $1 million business, if anybody's confused about the title, is because now that I know about businesses, how to evaluate them, I mean, now I know, even though I didn't have the accounting, which, very hard to sell a business for what it's worth. But, on an industry like what I had, just a multiple of 3 of, what I was cash flowing, or I'm sorry, what I was net profiting, would pretty much be the valuation. With by year 3, 4, it was actually about 300,000. So if you do the valuation like that, it's 300,000 free cash in a year times 3, about 900,000. So it would be about $1 million business today. Which again, if I would have kept, yes, I mean, right now it'd probably be worth a lot more. I probably would have expanded. I started offering different services. It was endless possibilities. Right now, I'll probably be running a bigger fleet of mobile cars, etc. But yeah, that's my story. That's how I went from my first job, basically, or just a day job, a regular job, to a business. So I hope you guys enjoyed the story. I haven't really shared the story with that many people. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys on the next video.